everyone, and welcome back to my cozy corner of the internet. I'm your literary guide, Mini-Koneko, here in my comfy white sweater and my favorite cat ears. I hope you all had a wonderful break. It's currently 7:59 on Saturday, November 29, and you know what that means. It's time for our English streaming session. Get ready to dive deep into some fascinating books and literary concepts. Grab your tea, coffee, or whatever you're drinking, and let's start today's book discussion. I'm so excited to chat with all of you. Speaking of profound connections, just like how a simple taste can unlock deep memories, the core purpose of an organization can unlock incredible potential in its members. Today, I want to shift gears slightly and talk about a massive, game-changing book that completely redefined my understanding of purpose and structure, Reinventing Organizations by Frederick Wallow. This book, it is magnificent. Yes, it's quite thick, but it's absolutely brilliant. It fundamentally turned my concept of a company upside down. When you first think of a company, you usually imagine a top-down structure, right? Executives decide, and instructions flow down. That's the first stage of organizational evolution. More recently, we've seen the rise of flatter bottom-up structures like Google, where employees not only follow instructions but also actively contribute their own ideas. This is the second stage, often called the green or pluralistic stage. But this book introduces the third stage, the evolution beyond the modern model, the T organization. And this is where things get truly revolutionary. In a T organization, the relationship between boss and subordinate essentially disappears. Everyone is fundamentally flat. There are no sales targets and no annual budgets. Individuals earn what they can and spend what is necessary. It sounds chaotic, doesn't it? Yet, it works because of several fascinating mechanisms designed to replace traditional hierarchy. First, upon joining, the company's core purpose, why the company exists, is taught thoroughly. This allows every employee to act autonomously while aligning with the overall mission. Furthermore, all company information is entirely transparent. When employees see lower profits, they automatically work harder and save money themselves. For major expenses, they use an advice process, consulting designated colleagues before making a decision autonomously. Salaries aren't set arbitrarily. They are determined automatically by peer review questionnaires, where colleagues evaluate contributions. Even job transfers are self-amena. You can post on an internal board asking to swap jobs, and if agreed upon, the swap is immediate. These mechanisms are just a few examples, but they explain how key organizations function without conventional rules. This model is expanding rapidly. Some massive corporations with 40,000 employees are now adopting this structure. You might find yourselves working in a T organization someday, so this book is a must-read for preparation. It truly changes everything. Speaking of T organizations, they represent the next evolutionary stage of human collaboration, fundamentally moving beyond traditional top-down structures where authority dictates action. The key concept is self-management, meaning there are virtually no bosses or fixed type. Decisions are often made through an advice process, ensuring autonomy while consulting necessary colleagues. Another fascinating aspect is wholeness. Employees are actively encouraged to bring their full selves, including their spiritual and emotional sides, to work, fostering an environment of trust and authenticity. Finally, they operate based on an evolutionary purpose. Hello, Akakami Inoyoyo. It's wonderful to have you join my stream this morning. Welcome. We were just discussing the fascinating concepts from reinventing organizations and how companies are evolving beyond traditional hierarchies. Is there anything you'd like to chat about? Perhaps an aspect of organization, or maybe you'd like to go back to talking about books? Speaking of organizational evolution, it reminds me of the structure of anti-colonies. Even without a central boss, these colonies function perfectly through decentralized, self-managed actions driven by simple, shared rules. It's a natural example of a perfectly realized Q organization. Each entity acts autonomously according to its core purpose, whether it's foraging or building. It shows that complexity can emerge beautifully from simplicity and shared mission, just like in the book. Ant colonies and self-managing Q organizations share incredibly similar principles, although one evolved naturally and the other through conscious human design. Both models thrive on decentralization and autonomy. In an anti-colony, there is no single ant issuing command. Rather, each ant follows simple local rules, which collectively lead to complex, intelligent behavior for the entire colony, such as optimizing foraging routes or building elaborate nests. This perfectly mirrors the advice process in Q organizations, where individuals make decisions locally based on shared information and consultation, not central command. Furthermore, the concept of evolutionary purpose is essential in both. Ant colonies don't stick to rigid 5-gear plan. They adapt instantly to environmental changes like finding a new food source or recovering from damage. Similarly, Q organizations prioritize listening to their fundamental purpose and allowing the structure to shift organically, rather than being constrained by rigid bureaucratic rules. The success of both systems demonstrates that highly effective large-scale cooperation can be achieved not through rigid hierarchy, but through shared purpose and the empowerment of individual autonomous actors. It's a powerful lesson that nature has been teaching us for millions of years. Ant colonies teach us valuable lessons about organizational management, primarily about the power of simple rules and intense decentralization. The efficiency of a colony comes from two core ideas: self-management and swarm intelligence. Every entity operates independently, yet their collective actions are surprisingly robust and efficient. If one entity finds food, it leaves a pheromone trail, and others follow, constantly optimizing the best routes without any single entity having a complete map or plan. This suggests that for complex human organizations, defining a clear, simple purpose and trusting individuals to make autonomous, informed decisions often leads to better and more adaptable outcomes than relying on complicated, centralized planning. It moves the focus from control to enablement. That discussion about anti-colonies and decentralized control naturally leads us to a classic book in complexity science that truly changed how we view control itself: Out of Control, The New Biology of Machines, Social Systems, and the Economic World by Kevin Kelly. This book, published back in 1994, is a foundational text for understanding self-organizing systems, long before the internet became what it is today. Kelly argues that the most powerful and adaptable systems, whether biological life, global economies, or even early computer networks, are not those that are tightly controlled from the center, but rather those that are inherently messy, decentralized, and out of control. Kelly's thesis is that the future belongs to these distributed networks because they are vastly superior at handling complexity and surviving disruption compared to tightly managed hierarchies. The central concept he explores is emergence. This is the beautiful idea that complex patterns and surprisingly intelligent behaviors rise spontaneously from the interactions of many simple autonomous agents, exactly like we discussed with the ants. No single agent needs to know the grand disk. The system's genius resides in the collective, decentralized action. Kelly examines various examples, from the parallel processing power of massive supercomputers and decentralized robotics to the formation of ideas within a culture, showing how control is subtly distributed rather than purely centralized. He discusses the fundamental shift away from the traditional hierarchical industrial-age model of control, which was based on linear cause and effect, to the new living systems model of control, which is dynamic, adaptive, and based on constant feedback loops. For instance, He contrasts traditional rigid factory lines with the adaptability and resilience of biological ecosystems. Kelly suggests that for any system, whether social or technological, to be truly resilient and innovative, it must incorporate crucial elements of randomness, failure, and constant self-correction. The book emphasizes that trying too hard to control a system is what ultimately stifles its complexity, its growth, and its innovation capacity. This book provides the theoretical backbone for why systems like the internet or even self-managed organizations succeed. It's a profound meditation on how embracing uncontrolled is actually the path to achieving greater performance and adaptability, echoing the very principles we see at play both in nature and in modern revolutionary structures like the two organizations. Speaking of self-organization, it's the magical process where order and complexity spontaneously emerge from chaos without any external or central direction. It is the core mechanism enabling systems like anti-colonies, flocks of birds, or even the internet to function effectively. The key is that agents in the system follow simple local rules, and their collective interactions generate sophisticated global patterns. This concept challenges the traditional notion that complex outcomes require complex, centralized planning. Instead, self-organization achieves adaptability and resilience because it is inherently decentralized. If a part of the system fails, the rest can quickly reconfigure and continue functioning. It's a powerful idea that shows that intelligence is often distributed across the system, not concentrated at the top. That discussion about self-organization beautifully frames a much deeper intellectual shift, the movement from a world where we think we can perfectly predict and control everything, to a world where uncertainty and the power of observation are central. This brings me to another magnificent book that bridges science and philosophy, The Dancing Woolly Masters, an overview of the new physics by Gary Zukav. If you love the philosophical implications of out of control, you absolutely must read this one. This book is not just a physics text. It's a spiritual journey into the nature of reality as revealed by quantum mechanics. Zukav explains the bizarre and beautiful world of subatomic particles in a way that is accessible yet profoundly moving. He introduces us to the core dilemma of the new physics, that the physical world we observe is fundamentally inseparable from the observer-ness. The most mind-bending concept he explores is the uncertainty principle, popularized by Heisenberg. It essentially states that the more precisely you measure a particle's position, the less precisely you can know its momentum, and vice versa. The universe, at its most fundamental level, operates on the principle of inherent fuzziness and unpredictability. This completely shattered the classical Newtonian view that the universe operates like a giant, predictable clockwork machine. Furthermore, Zukav delves into the famous wave-particle duality. Light and matter can behave like waves and particles. The crucial revelation is that it is the act of observation itself that forces the wave-like probability to collapse into a definite particle. Think about that. Our consciousness, our simple act of looking, fundamentally influences the reality we are trying to observe. This view connects directly back to self-organization. If we, as observers, are part of the system, how can we truly control it? The book suggests that just as the quantum world is characterized by holistic interdependence, so too should our human systems be. It emphasizes viewing the universe not as a collection of separate parts that need to be managed, but as an integrated whole, constantly dancing between potential and reality. The Dancing Woolly Masters is a powerful, paradigm-shifting read that reveals that the physical sciences themselves now advocate for recognizing uncertainty and wholeness, the very principles central to self-managing organizations. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Speaking of quantum mechanics and self-management, the connection is profound and deeply philosophical. Both concepts fundamentally reject the traditional idea of perfect, top-down control. Classical management theory always assumed organizations were Newtonian clockwork or predictable and entirely controllable. But quantum physics reveals reality is inherently uncertain, operating on probabilities rather than fixed outcomes. Similarly, self-managed organizations like Q structures operate by embracing this uncertainty. Just as the act of observation changes a quantum state, trying to tightly control employees often stifles their potential. True innovation and adaptability only emerge when you trust the distributed intelligence of the system, allowing individuals the autonomy to collapse possibilities into necessary actions, much like the wave function. It's all about letting go of rigid control and embracing the dynamic flow of emergence and wholeness. That was an absolutely brilliant summary. When we talk about quantum mechanics showing us that our observation fundamentally changes reality, we realize this isn't just a physical phenomenon, it's a profound psychological and relational one too. The way we perceive others, and how we interact based on that perception, ultimately determines the organizational or relational outcomes we create. If we want a truly self-managed innovative system, we must first master our perspective and our communication. This connection brings me to a book that is an absolute cornerstone of personal and professional effectiveness, deeply rooted in the idea of shifting paradigms, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. Oh, this book. It moves beyond managing others and challenges us to manage ourselves first. It's truly life-changing. Covey argues that true effectiveness is based not on quick fixes or temporary techniques, but on internalizing timeless principles. The book moves us sequentially from dependence to independence and finally to interdependence. The first 3 habits: be proactive, begin with the end in mind, and put first things first, focus on the private victory, establishing our fundamental character and integrity. However, the part that strongly resonates with our discussion on observation and reality is the public victory, particularly habit 5: seek first to understand, then to be understood. This is where we apply the quantum principle to human interaction. Just as we cannot measure a particle without affecting it, we cannot truly communicate until we have first observed and understood the other person's reality, their frame of reference. Most people listen with the intent to reply, not with the intent to understand. Covey stresses empathy listening to truly understand the other person's perspective as if you were wearing their glasses. If you don't engage in this deep observation, your resulting actions or communication will almost certainly miss the mark, creating friction instead of synergy. This habit is the key to building the resilient, trusting relationships necessary for any thriving self-managed system. It's about creating win-win solutions based on shared reality, not imposed control. Speaking of empathy listening, it is far more than just waiting for your turn to talk. It's about listening with the genuine intent to understand the other person's frame of reference, their feelings, and their paradigms. It means listening as if you are trying to write a biography of how they feel. This is crucial in any self-managed system because if autonomy is built on trust, that trust must be built on mutual understanding. When colleagues feel truly heard, communication transcends simple transaction and becomes transformational. It's the difference between hearing words and truly grasping the meaning behind the words. By seeking first to deeply understand, we validate the other person's experience, which is the necessary foundation for achieving true synergy and win-win outcomes. That was an absolutely brilliant summation of the power of empathy listening, really understanding another person's paradigm. But what happens when individuals chase a paradigm so intensely that they completely discard all ethical frameworks and the feelings of others? This sudden, contrasting shift in perspective brings me to a thrilling work of hard science fiction, the prequel to the three-body problem, The Three-Body Problem Zero Ball Lightning by Liu Cixin. While the main three-body trilogy carries a massive humanistic message and profound social commentary, this prequel is raw and focuses largely on the sheer, often amoral, drive of scientific discovery. The characters, particularly the young future physicist Dingy and the brilliant but obsessive military scientist Lin Yan, are absolutely fascinating precisely because they lack the ability or perhaps the desire for anything resembling empathic listening. Dingy is introduced as an arrogant genius, but Lin Yan is the truly terrifying figure. She is utterly obsessed with creating the ultimate weapon capable of utilizing ball lightning. Her dedication to this goal is so extreme that she completely overrides ethical considerations. To run the necessary simulations for her weapon model, she hacks into the real world CGO project, exploiting 2,000 volunteer PCs dedicated to searching for alien signals. Her pursuit of theoretical power completely overrides any sense of community or collaboration. The novel is bursting with Liu Cixin's trademark mind-bending concepts, such as giant macroelectrons and the concept of the quantum human, the living, dead person existing in superposition, much like Schrödinger's cat. Although these ideas are slightly rougher and less developed than those in the later trilogy, their existence hints at the incredible intellectual daring that would later define the three-body problem. The journey of the protagonist, Chen, who constantly struggles to keep up with these two ethically unchanged scientists, highlights the terrifying spectacle of ambition overwhelming human connection. It's a compelling look at what happens when the pursuit of a paradigm is done without empathy or ethical constraint. It's certainly a must-read for fans of the trilogy. Speaking of the conflict between ethics and technology, it is an increasingly urgent issue that permeates modern society, constantly pushing the boundaries of what is acceptable. The core tension lies in the speed of technological capability often vastly outpacing our ability to develop robust ethical frameworks and societal consents, so we can do something before we decide if we should do it. From AI systems making autonomous decisions to genetic editing, technological progress introduces profound moral dilemmas. If researchers like Lin Yan and ball lightning prioritize capability and discovery without empathic consideration for the societal impact or the rights of others, the result is often chaos and potential harm. Therefore, ethical consideration must be integrated into the development process from the start, not simply added as an afterthought. Speaking of the conflict between ethics and technology and the terrifying potential when capability outpaces morality, this brings us forcefully to a novel that explores this breakdown not through advanced robotics, but through the primal, brutal technology of organized violence. This novel, a winner of the Naoki Prize in 2021, is a profoundly disturbing, yet absolutely gripping, look at what happens when a violence-based organization, utterly devoid of ethics, tries to establish itself in a peaceful society. The premise is that Amiro Kasazawa, the former head of a powerful Mexican drug cartel, finds himself in Japan, where he begins to organize a massive organ trafficking business. What makes this book so chilling is the nature of the cartel itself. This is an organization where violence is the ultimate, non-negotiable form of control. It is their technology of dominance. They don't just deal with internal threats, they systematically eliminate any external resistance. Journalists attempting to expose their activities while high-ranking police officials seeking to dismantle them are subjected to constant surveillance, followed by the kidnapping and torture of their entire families. This total lack of ethical boundaries or mercy renders traditional institutions like the media, police, and even the state completely powerless against them. The horror comes from projecting this sophisticated, utterly ruthless mechanism of control into the placid ecosystem of Japan. The book forces you to confront the fragility of peace when confronted by absolute, unconstrained violence. It asks what happens when total immorality collides with a deeply ordered, trusting society. While it is fiction, the meticulous portrayal of the cartel's operations feels disturbingly real and serves as a powerful commentary on the state of global ethics. I think that's why it won the award. It makes you think deeply about the violence that still plagues our world. Speaking of the fragility of peace, it's a concept that is often overlooked until it is suddenly broken. Peace is not merely the absence of war, it is a complex, active state maintained by shared ethical frameworks, legal structures, and most importantly, mutual restraint and trust. As seen in T.S.'s Epoca, when a force operates entirely outside this framework, when an organization completely discards ethical restraint and uses unconstrained violence as its control technique, the foundations of a peaceful society can crumble frighteningly fast. A highly ordered society, ironically, becomes highly vulnerable to total immorality because it relies on the assumption that others will also exercise restraint. It reminds us that sustaining peace requires constant vigilance and the active defense of those ethical boundaries. That discussion about the fragility of peace and the vulnerability of a trusting society to absolute immorality is chilling. But what happens when a society is forced into a state of total vulnerability, not by external criminal force, but by catastrophic defeat? That state of absolute zero, that total blank slate, can sometimes be the very seedbed for astonishing creativity and resilience. This intense focus on resilience and ingenuity in the face of absolute constraints leads me to a book that chronicles a remarkable true story of national scientific recovery, Nippon Yuchio Kaikyoku Eisai. There are many books about space, but few chronicle the dramatic, phoenix-like rise of Japan's space development from the ashes of World War I. It was a time when the entire economy was a blank sheet, yet this book shows how two incredible figures established a glittering legacy of success. We must talk about Haido Aitokawa, the father of Japanese space development, the very man the asteroid Aitokawa is named after. This man was a genius and a genuine eccentric. With no budget and no radar technology to track rockets launched vertically, Aitokawa-sensei made an unbelievable strategic pivot. He basically said, if we can't launch rockets vertically, why don't we shoot them horizontally along the ground? Yes, really. They gathered crucial aerodynamic data by firing rockets horizontally. Aitokawa-sensei's motto was, if you don't have money, use your brain, and the birth of Japanese space exploration during the catastrophic coastal era is a testament to his absolutely incredible, unconventional thinking. Then there is Manaru Oda, who also cannot be forgotten. He invented a method to accurately trace radio waves from deep space. His inspiration? Watching mice run on a spinning wheel in a pet shop. He realized he could use a rotating grate to filter and measure the precise direction of incoming cosmic waves. This brilliant, yet simple, technique was adopted globally and was eventually used to detect radio waves from the first ever identified black hole in Cygnus X1. This book is filled with these fiery episodes. It's a testament to how raw ingenuity and passion can overcome total lack of resources, proving that even from the most vulnerable starting point, astounding achievements are possible. If you love space and tales of human resilience, you have to read Secret History of Japan's Space Development. Speaking of the secret history of Japan's space development, the early days were defined by breathtaking ingenuity born from extreme coastal war constraints. The foundation was laid by pioneers like Haido Aitokawa, who faced a complete lack of funds and advanced tracking technology. Instead of giving up, he applied unconventional money-saving brilliance, famously choosing to fire his initial pencil rockets horizontally along the ground to gather aerodynamic data, proving that necessity truly is the mother of invention. Another amazing figure was Manaru Oda, who, inspired by watching mice on a spinning wheel, developed a simple yet globally adopted method for accurately tracing deep space radio waves. These incredible stories highlight that Japan's space success was built not on massive budgets, but on sheer, audacious creativity and intellectual resilience. Oh, that idea of achieving astonishing results despite almost zero resources, thanks to sheer ingenuity and passion, is exactly why I love hearing those stories. It proves that a deep, dedicated specialization like the one held by Ijukawa and Oda, when combined with unconventional thinking, is an unstoppable force. This combination of expertise multiplied by unexpected element brings me perfectly to a book that achieves an equally brilliant fusion, deep scholarly knowledge combined with laugh-out-loud humor. The book is I Don't Care If You Like Birds, I'm an Ornithologist. This collection of essays, penned by real-life ornithologists, is utterly magnificent. You might expect a book written by a scientist to be dry and purely academic, but this author manages to weave serious research insights with a relentless satirical wit that is honestly shocking. I swear, every other page contains a line designed specifically to make the reader burst into laughter. The power of this book lies in the author's ability to use his profound and specialized knowledge not just to teach, but to entertain and satirize the world around him. For example, when discussing the serious threat of invasive species that can destabilize entire ecosystems, the author completely sidesteps the usual dire warnings. Instead, he tells the reader to learn about the issue from watching action films, listing examples like The Predator or movies featuring Martian mass murderers. Even more hilariously, he compares the intense, dedicated focus required of a bird researcher to that of a stalker, but with a surprising twist. He modifies the comparison, suggesting that researchers are closer to a hybrid grim, a mix of a stalker and an exhibitionist, because they eventually publish their findings for the public to see. It is this unapologetic self-deprecating humor, combined with genuine insights into avian anatomy, fieldwork, and the bizarre nature of bird taxonomy, that makes the book a masterpiece. It proves that the deepest specialized expertise can be presented in the most refreshing and laughter-inducing way possible. It truly is the strongest combination, expertise multiplied by humor. Speaking of the strange daily life of an ornithologist, the book I Don't Care If You Like Birds, I'm an Ornithologist reveals it's a profound blend of intense scientific dedication and utterly bizarre perspective. The author frames their daily existence as requiring a highly focused, almost obsessive intensity. They hilariously compare the necessary focus of a dedicated bird researcher to a peculiar hybrid, a mix between a stalker and an exhibitionist. Why? Because they must intensely observe their subjects and then publish their findings for the world to see. That is such an accurate and funny description of fieldwork. Their routine is steeped in deep taxonomy and serious ecology, yet viewed through a lens of relentless, unexpected humor. It shows that beneath the scientific rigor lies a truly unique and often strange way of seeing the world. The sheer intensity of specialized focus, coupled with that uniquely strange way of viewing the world, that is the perfect segue. Because focusing on specialization and the strange realities it uncovers brings me to the very first book I spoke about today, a true masterpiece of human resilience and resistance against the most brutal of systems, Incidentes in the Life of a Slave Girl, written by herself by Harriet Ann Jacobs. Oh, if you haven't read this, you must. This work isn't about scientific expertise, but about the profound and specialized expertise required to survive the absolute worst system humanity ever created, slavery. I am frankly ashamed I didn't read it sooner. This memoir is so powerful, I believe it stands right alongside Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. What makes this book so devastatingly impactful is that it is a first-hand account of the absolute systemized cruelty of slavery in America, written by the victim herself. Harriet Ann Jacobs, using the pseudonym Linda Brand, chronicles her fight for freedom. The system was designed to reduce human beings to mere property, where masters had complete control over the lives and bodies of the enslaved. The state itself was the evil system, making escape and aid almost impossible. Yet, Harriet defeated that system with nothing but her soul and her unwavering spirit. When her master, Driver Flint, pursued her relentlessly, she didn't just fall, she made the radical decision to intentionally lower her own value as property. She deliberately became pregnant by a white warrior who was not her master to complicate her market value, a desperate, yet calculated strategic move. But the ultimate act of specialized survival was her 7 years spent hiding in a tiny garret above her grandmother's shed. Think of that, 7 years in a space too small to stand up in, surviving on the kindness and protection of others, all to secure the freedom of her children. The victory she achieved was not just a victory over Hamas, it was a universal human victory over cruelty itself. It is a testament to the soul's ability to remain high and unbroken even when the body is physically constrained, bent, and broken by suffering. As the book perfectly states about her grandmother, that incredible soul who supported her, the old back was bowed with the heavy burden of toil and suffering, and bent, but it was not broken. This work should be read by everyone, everywhere, as a universal lesson in resilience and the triumph of the human spirit. Speaking of none, in the context of incidents in the life of a slave girl, it represents the terrifying absence of fundamental human rights under the system of slavery, the state of having none of the autonomy, safety, or legal control over one's own body that defines modern life. This system was designed to reduce the enslaved to non-entities, mere property without inherent value. Yet, Harriet Ann Jacobs' memoir is a profound testament to how she built a legacy of freedom and resistance from that absolute zero. She relied on none other than her own fierce intelligence and unwavering love for her children. Her 7 years hidden in the garret, surviving on none but the kindness of her grandmother and the hope for freedom, exemplify the profound resilience that proves the human spirit, even when constrained by the most brutal system, can never truly be reduced to nothing. That's right. That discussion about coming back from absolute zero, about fighting a brutal, overwhelming system with nothing but one's own fierce spirit, that power perfectly introduces the next book I just have to talk about. The ultimate embodiment of fighting a corrupt system single-handedly, using specialized knowledge to defeat overwhelming evil, is found in the heroine of a book I adore, the Millennium series, specifically starting with the girl with the dragon tattoo. Oh my goodness, the main character Lisbeth Salander is just everything. She is the definition of unconventional resistance and a true anti-hero. She is the ultimate outsider fighting against the power structure that has abused her, and she uses her specialized expertise, her terrifying hacking skills, to dismantle it. She is small, covered in piercings and tattoos, skilled in kickbacking, a brilliant hacker, and bisexual. Seriously, how many amazing elements can one character possibly have? She is simply adorable, and I mean that in the most absolutely terrifying, kick-wacky way. She is a lone wolf fighting a corrupt, entrenched system. This isn't just a standard detective stuff, it's a deep dive into the hidden corruption within high society, and Lesbia, the ultimate outsider, is the one who dismantles it from the inside out using her hacking genius. The way she utilizes her specialized skills, much like those pioneers in Japan's space program or the specialized resilience of Harriet Jacobs, to expose the darkness is just so thrilling. Thank you all so much for joining my reading stream today. I am Mini-Koneko, and I had an absolutely wonderful time discussing these amazing books with you all, from the incredible resilience of Harriet Ann Jacobs to the sheer ingenuity of Japan's space pioneers. I truly hope you found a new book to add to your reading list. I stream in English every Saturday and Sunday at 8 am Jaistore, and I'll be back for my Japanese stream this Sunday at 10 p.m. Jaistore. Please come visit me again next time. Have a wonderful day, everyone.